Conquest of Azeroth. This is Project Ascension's take on a new Classic Plus experience with 21 classes that are inspired by Warcraft lore. As a classless Andy, I wasn't keen on Conquest of Azeroth at first, but after playing the beta for quite a while now, it's really impressed me, and I plan to play multiple classes when it officially releases very soon. TM. Now, if you don't know how Project Ascension does their alpha or beta servers, you need to buy a travel guide. This is an item in the web store, or maybe you can find a player selling it in game. Once you have the item, you can use it on one of the live servers, and then you can log out, switch your client to the PTR, download the required files, and then when you log back in, under the PTR option, you'll have access to the respective server, and for Conquest of Azeroth, that is the Rexar server. So, the question, and what this video is about, is should you buy this travel guide for Conquest of Azeroth? Which, to clarify, gives you access to the Rexar server, which is a persistent test realm that does not get wiped like these temporary open beta realms have been. And at first, I thought that it would just be the same logic as buying a free-to-play game that has a paid early access or something. But then I saw some questions in newcomer chat that made me realize that there could be more to it depending on your situation. Now, the first and biggest factor to me is how bad do you really want to play it right now? And this is one of the big reasons I wanted to make this video, because at the time of recording, Conquest of Azeroth is supposed to release sometime early in the third quarter of this year. It was supposed to be by the end of the second quarter, but deep in the fine text of the announcement for the Drekthar open beta test, it was mentioned that a full article announcing Conquest of Azeroth's release date and covering all information about it will release soon, and it won't be too long after the original projection of late second quarter, and to expect an announcement for the release of COA in early quarter 3. Now, there's only 3 months in a quarter, so if you say early, I would imagine that is the first month, because the next month is middle, and then the next month after that would be late. So I'm interpreting this as they release an announcement in July, and hopefully that is in early July and is released in late July. Further than we originally thought, but still not that far away. On top of that, there is an open beta server called Drekthar that is going on from now till the 15th of June. Now, it is capped to level 58, so I understand if you really want to try the end game before the official release, but as someone who has been playing on that server, I can say that the population can be very sparse at times, so depending on your schedule, you will probably need to find a guild in order to raid or do a lot of activities in the end game. But I think most players, they just want to play all the different classes, maybe decide and plan what classes and subclasses they're going to play on the official release, or just make the decision if they're going to play it at all. But you can essentially get the same content for free on Drekthar until the 15th. So I would say it's worth it just to wait. But maybe it's not about playing things ahead of time. Maybe you really want those goodies that come in the bundle. In addition to the access, which is the main purpose of buying it, we also get this Cyclopean Dread. We get a founder title, a prestigious Bloodforged Courser mount, Lil Chromagus Whistle, that's an exclusive pet, Runes of Retreat for Orgrimmar and Stormwind, which are pretty common and usually pretty cheap on the auction house, but they're there. You also get a 30 slot bag. Now, this is not a vanity item bag. It is bind on equip, and it does not go into your collection, and that will be relevant later. And then you get some consumables, which again are not part of your vanity. These are a one-time use thing. You get them, you can spend them. And at the bottom, we see that there's a Vanity Collection Sync, and this is for players who already own items on the live servers to bring those over to the test server so they can use them while testing. So when a newcomer asked a question in Discord about whether their progress is going to carry forward once Conquest of Azeroth releases on live servers, and by the way, the answer to that is no, it will be a completely new server, so everyone will be starting fresh. They also asked about items, and specifically the items in the bundle, and whether they have access to them when the official release happens. And to answer that question, I applied some logic based on how Ascension does things currently. And what we have to go off of is the current structure of Area 52, which is the evergreen persistent server. And then we have these seasonal servers. For example, Elune that's going on right now. So when Elune ends, all the characters and your vanity and everything in your collection, it goes to Area 52. And Elune server closes. And then when the next season rolls around, that server is created, and we can buy Vanity Syncs to then pull over our Vanity collection to characters created on the new seasonal server. And again, these are just Vanity collection items, the ones that you can pull up the Vanity collection and then deliver to your character. Usually they have the heirloom color to their text. And in this chat, it was confirmed by a GM that syncs will indeed be available for purchase when Conquest of Azeroth launches. And I think most people assume this. However, there was always this little part in the corner of my mind that thought there's a possibility that they maybe delayed or limited the syncs. But then I started thinking about it from the perspective of that new player, or gamers in general, because we are very accustomed to early access games, or even like in the case of Path of Exile 2, this pay to test. People are buying access to play the game early before it comes out, which is exactly what we're doing here with Conquest of Azeroth. And I believe it's pretty natural to think that if I get any goodies with this bundle that I bought for early access or paid access to beta test, then those goodies would be on my account whenever the server launched, without having to pay for another item in order to sync those items. And even as a seasoned Ascension player, I thought it would make sense that those items were on your account, at least the ones from the travel guide. And it makes sense that I would have to then sync all my other Vanity items. But the GM's response was that we'd be able to sync them. So then I asked, are we just going to be given a sync, like people who bought the travel guide, to get those items back? And the answer was that we'd have to wait to get more information about that. So then I started to worry, because I've actually seen quite a few players join the Ascension Discord or even log into the live servers whose main interest is to play Conquest of Azeroth. Like their very first purchase in the web store is to get the travel guide to go try out Conquest of Azeroth. So I thought it would be a really bad look if those players logged in on day one of the official launch, only to find out that those items that they paid for were not on their account, and that they would have to, go through another paywall to get them. So I decided to ring up a community manager, let them know that, I was about to make this video, and I'd really love to clarify some of these things because I foresee it being a problem. And they were able to confirm, much to my relief, that those Vanity items can be applied to players' accounts who purchased a travel guide previously on live release without the need to purchase a Vanity Sync. Now, you will not be getting a free Vanity Sync, and I think that's maybe something that some new players thought they would also get on release. If they got this bundle now, then they'd have one when the official launch happened, but that's not going to happen. It's extremely unlikely that we'll get the 30 slot bag or the consumables, which are not Vanity collection items. The consumables aren't that big of a deal, but I think the 30 slot bag would be the biggest loss here for a lot of new players. Maybe in the future they can make that like some equivalent bind on account bag. Now we don't know if we'll be getting bundles on launch similar to the seasonal ones that we usually get. For example, currently we have the Celestial Observers bundle, but I imagine there will be at least a couple options to get a Vanity Sync, probably with some extra goodies. And this is what I would recommend to existing Ascension players who want to play Conquest of Azeroth, but maybe main Area 52 or the classless seasonal servers, and they have an established Vanity collection. Enjoy the beta until the 15th, figure out what you want to play, and then on the official release, just get a Vanity Sync or buy one of those large bundles. Even if you're one of those players who just came here for Conquest of Azeroth, those bundles usually have great value. All you have to do is see what comes in them, then go check the store and see what it may cost to get some of the items individually, and you'll see that you're saving tons of DP by getting the bundle. So I hope they really do one for Conquest of Azeroth. Unless you're a whale and just like buy out the whole shop anyways, I assume players have something of a spending limit. So I'm not saying don't spend that $25, $50, $100 or more dollars to support the game. I'm saying unless you're absolutely crazy about these Vanity items that come with the travel guide, spend your money on something else that you're probably going to get way more value from. Now, if you want to know just my overall opinion on whether it's worth it to play Conquest of Azeroth as a whole, you can for sure check out my VODs. I've streamed it, talked about the classes, but also be sure to subscribe below, click the bell so you're notified when I release videos on Conquest of Azeroth. But I will say that there are so many classes. 21's a lot of classes compared to normal WoW or just in general for a lot of MMORPGs. And then they all have 3 or more subclasses because there's 69 total. And even though it's not classless and fully modular like we've come to see on the Elune server, it still gives players plenty of options to choose from to play a class and a style that is really fun. The devs can tune and balance these classes to make them perform without having to worry about those pieces breaking some other type of build somewhere else. And even though I don't play a lot of PvP, balance is something that's much more possible. Of course, there's always going to be outliers. There's builds that perform very well in Conquest of Azeroth, but for the most part, the delta or the difference between the classes and how they perform is much smaller than what we would see on the classless realms. So let me know down in the comments, are you playing Conquest of Azeroth? What class are you playing? And be sure to check the description below for the Discord so you can join us whenever the server launches. My name is Halen, this is the Project Ascension Hub, and I'll see you in the next one.